Hello, I'm Tilly and welcome to my kitchen, and today I'm going to be dehydrating, and today's dehydrating project is some baby leaf spinach. So I bought this from Lidl and it was £1.59. I've got 2 bags of it and the weight is 450 grams per bag. So I've got to wash it, and I'm going to wash it in a solution of distilled vinegar and water, and I'm going to give it a good soak and a good massage, and then once I've done that I'm going to give it a good spin in my salad spinner. So I'll get back to you when I've washed it all. So this spinach has been soaking for a goodly while and I've given it a good old massage and a wash. So now I'm just going to spin out the water. There's tons more in the wash bowl, so I'm going to spin this, get all the water out, or as much as I can. There's all the water that it got out of there. So this really does work well. If you haven't got a salad spinner, you don't need to go out and buy one. Just put it in between some towels and give it a good press down, give it a good pat, and it will dry it nicely. So that is my huge bowl of spinach, all washed and spun to get as much water out as I can. Now this is not going to all fit in the Excalibur, even though this is a big boy. It's not all going to fit in there, but I've got a plan. So I'm going to put my spinach on my tray. So it'll only fit 4 of the, although this Excalibur holds 9 trays, it's a 9 tray one, I'll only be able to fit 4 trays of spinach in here because it's quite bulky, it's quite high. So it'll only fit 4 in. So I'm just going to scatter that around on the trays. Like that. I'm just going to get that in. I must say I am enjoying my experiences with the dehydrating so far. I am absolutely loving it. This is only my 3rd project with it. So I did the frozen mixed veg to start with, and then I did the curly kale, and I scrunched that all up to make a powder. Well, not a coarse powder, it was more like flakes than powder. I didn't grind it, I didn't put it in the food processor, I just scrunched it all up. So number 2 going in. So I'm missing one of the shelves out to make it fit. So really quick and easy. I'm not even taking the stalks off these. I took the stalks off the kale when I did that because the stalks are a lot tougher. But apparently you don't need to take the stalks off these because they're a lot softer and not as fibery as the kale ones. So I'm hoping that's true. That was, I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos on how to do this dehydrating. And I've watched Darcy at the Purposeful Pantry, and she says you don't need to take the stalks off. So that's good enough for me. If Darcy says it's good, then that's good enough for me because she knows what she's doing. She's been doing it a long time. She knows what she's doing. So one more tray and get this one in. And then when this one is underway, I've got all these peppers what I'm going to do is wash them, slice them, and then blanch them. And then I'm actually going to put these ones in the freezer, and then I can dehydrate them at another time, because I don't want them to spoil, because I've got so many plans of things that I want to dehydrate. I'm never going to get it all done, so they can go in the freezer for when I've got more time. So that's my 4 shelves full. So all I'm going to do is put the front on, and I'm going to put it, now for veg you can do it at 125 degrees Fahrenheit, but I'm going to do this a little bit slower, because if you do it a little bit slower it helps keep the nutrients in. So I'm going to put this on at 115 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm just going to switch that on, and then I'll get back to you in a little while and tell you what my plan is for doing the whole lot. I know this is a video for dehydrating the spinach, but I've just turned the dehydrator off a minute to show you how I've chopped up the peppers. So I've done them long ways like this and done them thin, because I'm thinking that they're going to dehydrate a lot quicker by being chopped up finer, left a little bit longer. I'd usually just chop them roughly, dice them all up, but I've took a bit longer to do them this time, because I think that will save me dehydrating time in the long run. So I'm just going to get these blanched, but don't they look fabulous? All those beautiful colours. And this is the waste out of them, and that will be going in the compost. So my plan with these now is they've been in for about 1 hour and a quarter, and they've wilted down quite a lot. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to let these cool down. So there's loads more space on here. So I'm going to let these cool right down, and then I'm going to put them in this seal tub with a good seal on it, put it in the fridge whilst I do the rest of them. So I'll then get the rest of the spinach on and do that for 1 hour and a quarter, and then I'll be able to put them all back in together to dry out properly. So I'm just going to let these dry. I'm just going to let these cool. So these are nicely cooled, they're all cold in the tub, and they're going in the fridge. These ones are going on now for 1 hour and a quarter, so they'll be at the same stage as these, and then after 1 hour and a quarter these can go back in with those, because there'll be more room on the shelf, so I can do double the amount for the rest of the time that's left. So this lot has now had 1 hour and a quarter, the same as the first lot. I've got my first tub of it out of the fridge, and it's wilted down enough to get more on the trays. So that's exactly what I'm going to do, get more on the trays. If I can get this lid off. Really good seals on these lids, but they're really hard to get off. Right, so there's our first lot. Just get some more on each of these trays, and then get them back in for the rest of the dehydrating time. I think that's a good plan, don't you? It should work, and it cuts down on some of the time that you need your dehydrator on for, which I think is fabulous. Can't see why it wouldn't work. So get that one in. May need to get a bit more on it yet. I'll see how it goes. Because look how much it cooks down. It shrinks quite a lot, doesn't it? So I think this could be a good idea. And then when it's been on for a little while longer, I'll just come back in and separate them a bit more, just to make sure that they don't all clump up together. I'll just keep my eye on it So that's that one. Still loads of room on there, look. Because I've seen a few of these videos now for doing spinach, and by the time it's finished and there's just a few sparse leaves on the tray, I'm thinking, that's a bit of a waste of space. There must be a way around that. And this could be the way around it, hopefully. So they're all dried at the same temperature. I know these look a bit different to those. These look darker. That's only because they've been in the fridge for a little while. So that's that lot. So we'll get those back in. Like I say, I'll come back in and just pull these apart if it, see how much it needs, if it needs a bit more space. But that looks good to me. So I'll get that switched on and then I'll come back when they're all dried and finished, and I'll let you know how long it's all taken. So I did just have another thought, because you could most likely get the other trays in there now. So if I did that, for instance, there's plenty of room. So you could actually do it. Oh, that works. Look at that. So you could actually fill all the trays. So what you could do is to do each one for an hour and a quarter, and enough, then you'll have enough to fill 9 shelves, and you can put it all back in together. And as long as you put it in the fridge in a sealed container, it's going to be absolutely fine until you come back and put it all in together. So that will work. I'm rather pleased with that little idea. And that's what I will be using in the future. So you can do bigger quantities of the spinach, which I like very much. So for now, because this is all I've got, we'll just carry on with these 4 trays. Okay, we're finished. It's all dehydrated. Now, lessons learned. Cut the stalks off. This has been in for 6 hours, and it was all nice and crispy a long time ago. These, however, were not anything like crispy, and they wasn't going to be. They are very soft, and they would have taken several hours more to dehydrate these little few stalks, and the payoff just was not worth it. So I came in and snipped off these stalks and then put them back in the dehydrator and let them dry thoroughly. Now, it really would not have been worth the energy consumed to dry this little handful of stalks. So, like I say, lesson learned. Next time I am going to cut the stalks off first. These won't get wasted. These can just be chopped up. Pair of scissors, easy enough to just chop up with a pair of scissors, and they can just be thrown into a stew. Not stored because they're not dry, so they won't store, but they will go into a stew or a soup or anything, whatever meal we're cooking next. These will be in it. Just cut them up finely and throw them in. Be absolutely fine. But you may or may not want to cut the stalks off. So that's that, and I'll get that out of the way. So now what we have here is some beautifully crisp spinach, all nicely dried. So now I'm just going to chuck these into my foil tin. I'm not going to crunch these up, I'm just going to leave them as they are, for now at least. I can always change my mind later, but for now, these will stay as they are. They'll obviously take up more room in a jar, but that's fine. So into the jar they go. Oh, they'll fit through the funnel. Yeah, just about. Might be better off just putting them straight in. So I don't want to get another jar for this bit, so I'm going to make sure they all fit in the 3 jars that I've got here. So I'm just going to press them down a bit to make them fit. Lids on. And there is another 3 jars of loveliness. So my 3 jars of spinach all nicely done and left quite big. Unlike the kale that I did, which I crunched up really small. So the difference there. So I could always crunch this one up at a later date. So I must remember to label my jars as soon as possible so I don't get them mixed up. So they took 6 hours because of the stalks. If I'd have cut the stalks off sooner, well, at the beginning, they would have probably taken 3 hours, 3.5 hours, well, 4 hours maximum. And that would have saved me a lot of time. So I will definitely be cutting the stalks off next time. Now I should just mention these need conditioning. So once a day you come in, shake the jar, make sure there's no condensation, make sure there's nothing sticking in the jars, make sure there's no mould. If there's any mould at all, you need to throw the whole jar of it away. If there's any condensation, then you can just put it back in the dehydrator. So I'll be doing that for the next 7 to 10 days. And if that's all good, which I suspect it will be because these are really well dried now, they'll go on the pantry shelf. So that's the spinach all finished and dehydrated. I do hope that was interesting for you. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.